you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Welcome to On the Chain. Welcome on the chain. Welcome to On the Chain Live. I am Chip. That is Jeff. We are here and you are there, and together we make up the OTC On the Chain family community, whatever you might want to call it. What do we have in store for tonight, Jeff?
Man, I just want to say what's up to Maverick 8615, first time here, but tonight, man, we are going to talk a little bit about Ripple XRP. Somebody's losing that case. We got to dig in and try to figure out, is it SEC, is it Ripple, who's going to lose? But you know what's interesting is that there's so much going on every single day. Man, I'm shocked. 2021 is starting out like some steamroller. We got stuff going on with government coming out of, what's going on with Citadel and Gamestop and all that good stuff, and Reddit. We got some congressional representatives coming out asking for some regulatory clarity. We have Senate Banking Committee. Cynthia Lummis is doing some amazing things. So there's stuff coming out of government. And then we got some negative things in government too. Bitcom herself. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and more, because Ripple is up to a lot more. And we got to get into it. Get into it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Starts right now.
Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain with Jeff and Chip.
Whoa, we're
just
back.
Bouncing along.
Dude, did you know it's Thursday?
Well, it's Friday if you're listening on Friday morning, and it could be Saturday if you're listening on Saturday. What does the day really matter, Jeff? It's all just a blur. What's important is we're here. That's the important thing.
That's it. That's true. We got a lot of great people here with us. We have people that tune in from all over the world, from every place, everywhere around the world. So go ahead and give a shout out if you are so inclined, and tell us where you guys are tuning in from, because it's exciting to see where people are coming from. Hey, you know what, Chip? I wanted to start off with this one little segment. It looks like, you go onto the Ripple website, ripple.com/RippleNet. And, it's really interesting because every time, you kind of log in, it looks like they're doing some tweaks, making it a little bit more sales friendly. It almost feels like, you remember back in the day, you'd log in and you'd be like, oh, there's all these 3 different things. You got this and that, and you're trying to figure it all out. And it's confusing and complex, so is, like blockchain is. And then now, man, they've simplified it. It's amazing. You go onto the website, and I got to pull this thing up because to me, it's just impressive. Whoa, what is this? Share a video file? Dude, the thing changed. Look at that. You can now share a video file.
You can share a video. You can share a video, a local video.
Wow, that's crazy. That's brand new.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
They showed you a big window when you logged in with the video in it.
I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, there you go.
But here, check this out. Okay. Here you go. So, man, you know how it is, as you look at these different projects and you say, is it easy to understand, not easy to understand? What do you think of this opening of their website, the financial network of the future?
That's interesting if that's in the next hour, the next minute, or tomorrow. However, it's the financial future now.
Now, easily run a high performance global payments business.
Yeah, I think in that case it is the future.
Up. Yep. Now look at this. They jump into here, join hundreds of financial institutions of RippleNet. They put some of the key players over here: Santander, SBI, PNC, Standard Chartered, MUFG, MoneyGram. They got some here that you might not know who they are. But if you click explore the network for a split second, you're going to see a whole bunch of companies, and then they disappear. But I thought that's cool. You have SCB over here. It's over in Thailand, running on RippleNet. NIUM running on RippleNet. TransferGo. It's just, to me, it was just interesting, kind of, browsing in here because of the way they lay this out. Check this out: streamline global payments and reach new customers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You're not so excited about their process, what they're doing here. Check it out. It also helps you reduce, even eliminate the need to pre-fund accounts with on-demand liquidity.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting. I would like this whole thing to just say ODL.
But but you have Sydney there, so it's like, I don't know, man.
It's not exciting. Superior customer experience, modern infrastructure, unique liquidity, simplified network partnering. And then how about this?
The information is very exciting to me. Yeah, definitely.
Well, what do you think? From a business perspective, you go onto the website.
Oh yeah,
and you're like, you know what? What do you think? What do you think? Well,
from a business perspective, they're simplifying the messaging, which is great. Okay, the way they display it's I could have like, I wish they would have done this and me in a picture of this. But the messaging is there, and I think that they've done a great job of refining it. Simplifying a message. If you ever had to write a headline or a subhead or any of this stuff, it's always easy to get the whole idea. We've done this too here. It's like we have this whole idea, and it's like, okay, we need to condense it down to 7 words. That's hard to do. And what they have done in a very successful way is there's a lot going on that page said with less words. So that in itself is pretty good, because you really want to be able to attract, and you're talking about business, you want to be able to attract companies and explain. It's kind of like the elevator pitch. Your homepage really is your elevator pitch. Someone hits your website, they have 7 seconds to decide if they're going to stay or not, right? And if they leave, then you're probably gone forever, unless you target them with Google ads and retarget them and all that stuff, which you can do, or you follow them around social. That's Jeff, when you go to some site and you leave there and you were looking at something, just some kind of cool thing, I don't know, some kind of a gadget. Like I like everyday carry stuff, EDC stuff. So I like EDC. And then I see that same ad floating around all over the internet.
But what do you think of this? Does this, I was looking through it. It looks honestly, I felt a little bit choppy on the website. Streamline global payments and reach new customers. I don't understand this image.
No, the image is disturbing because it's like, you're not gonna grab an image. See, there's times when you use an image, a graphic to display something. There's other times we use a photo. This is not the time for the photo. Better served as a graphic, which they did successfully up top. But I don't know, the website itself, the look of it and feel of it. When I start looking at all these cool projects out there, it just seems a little bit.
Did they oversimplify it? It looked like there was so much more information. I was kind of going through it. I'm like, financial network of the future, kind of cool. You kind of see the different currencies changing, some customers. This kind of got me though. I mean, you're going to hide, they're hiding. It looks like they're hiding the whole ODL thing, and this doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I get it. Cindy, I don't get this, the little farm that's going on.
No, they're trying. The thing about what I'd never like, spending a long time in doing this kind of stuff early days. The problem is people try to get real clever, and what we're showing everything from how you might run a farm all the way to like one of the big cities and how you might in the infrastructure in a well-known city you would know the port of. And it's like you just look at it and you go like tired, There's always people try to like bridge all these things underneath it. Every time I've done, logo design for somebody, it's always like, I want to convey that there's an epic sort of a reading of how we look at the landscape. And I also want to, don't go crazy, okay? You either feel connected to it, it has a feeling, it feels like something, or it doesn't. It conveys something or it doesn't.
Here, Chip. I feel disconnected.
Well, I didn't know this was going to turn into a whole epic, website overview of Ripple. But look, I think we need to focus on the message, though. The messaging is there, right? And the thing about ODL is that your customers you're looking to attract, and again, they're growing bigger, because if you scroll up a little, go ahead and move down the other side. I think it was down there. Let me see. Keep going. All right, so there's the advantage. Okay, so they're pitching, who they're with, capabilities. So go ahead, RippleNet capabilities. This is key. So that's the right way to do it. Decentralized infrastructure, modernized messaging. So that's when you use a graphic, because you want to emphasize the copy there, right? You don't want someone going liquidity and you have like a drip, a snapshot of a drip of water off the dew of a leaf, and they go, like, well, you look at that. No. You just want some like dim colors. It's two-tone there. You got blue and like the gray going on there. That's what you want.
That's why I felt disconnected here, Chip. It just didn't make any sense. And then you got this, this is cool. Get the Ripple advantage, superior modern infrastructure, unique liquidity, simplified. Then the capabilities, but it still seems a little choppy, but they're getting their key points across, and they're really, really simplifying it. I mean, it's amazing to break it down to three key points.
And that, again, that's what we need to focus on, because you're gonna like something or not like something. You could like it, you might not like it. It doesn't really necessarily matter if you think everything's fantastic. But I think message-wise, the deeper stuff, the better stuff about the whole Ripple site is always inside. There's a lot of great articles. I think the articles are done well. Their posts that they do, which is really nice, because when you go in there, you can actually see, and they do it pretty succinctly. They don't write these god-awful like novels you have to sit there and read. No, they're the intro paragraph. It kind of follows the journalism 101. You intro your subject, you sort of talk about it a little bit, you introduce one or two key points, and then you close it. And that's how they have a similar style with almost everything that they put together and they write, which I think is good.
Yeah, I like this. I mean, this just hits it, from every element. Decentralized, 3+ seconds to send a payment. Hits home. Modernized messaging. If you understand what you're looking at, from a banking perspective, SWIFT is not 0% failure rate. It'd be interesting to look at what the messaging failure rate is with SWIFT, because it's definitely exists. And then liquidity solutions, 0% or $0 in pre-funding. I mean, I like that message. I really, think it's key. That's kind of what I wanted to bring up. Yeah.
Jeff, now let's do a comparative test. Let's just park this for a second. Okay. Somebody brought something up on the stream last night. They said, "Hey, what about Hedera hashgraph?" Or I actually brought it up, but somebody was looking at a different potential competitor. But if we look at something like a Hedera hashgraph, right? Let's kind of queue up their site. Let's do a comparison, right? Boom, hello future. You see, it's pretty simple.
I feel like I'm drawn in.
Right, but you see there's a little bit of video moving. It's a little loop going on. Trust layer of the internet is here. Look, messaging, it's far better, and this is one of the things that I think sometimes Ripple has struggled a little bit conveying some of the messaging. But look at this. It's just so simple. Hello future. Now, that if you look at that and we compare that to Ripple's site, there's certainly let me just hang on. So let me just take this out of here for 1 second. But there's a little bit of a, messaging wise, hello future, simple, man. You get it. You don't have to go into a lot of words. There's not a lot of verbiage there. You're not saying let's go back to this puppy here. Let's go. I wanted to compare the two here, right? So there you go. There you go. There's Ripple. Move money. Blah, blah, blah. What page were you on, by the way? Were you on the home page?
I'm on the main page.
Ripple.com?
No, RippleNet.
Oh, Ripple.com. Right. Oh, that's right, RippleNet. RippleNet, yeah, RippleNet.
Oh.
RippleNet, right?
The financial network of the future.
RippleNet. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Look, the bottom line is like, look, just the messaging here is very simple. Owned and governed by the world's leading organizations. Okay, got it. Join a future built on trust. It's decentralized public network to make your digital world. Sorry, thank you for doing that. There you go, right into there. It's owned by the world's largest.
And that's Hedera.
Yeah, it's Hedera. Hedera is a decentralized public network for you to make your digital world exactly like it should be, yours. Whether you're a startup, enterprise, creator, or consumer, it goes beyond blockchain for developers to create the next era of fast, fair, and secure.
Yeah. Yep.
And then see, this is one of the things that I think is missing and omitted, because now they're putting themselves up. They're assuming you know a little bit more. I know Ripple's a little bit more. It's a little bit more institutional. But when you put this up there and you're comparing yourself, 10,000 transactions a second, 0.0001. This is kind of what Ripple ought to be doing, something along those lines.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, it's interesting, kind of as a segue, because you posted it somewhere. SWIFT and China.
Yeah, that is something we really need to dive into. SWIFT and China, right? This was kind of an off-putting. Let's throw that up there. Let's key it up since they're bringing it up. And again, the smartest people on the planet here in the chat right now. So I wanted to pop this up because this is very interesting. So, and I really like the Block Crypto. I think they do a great job. SWIFT, the People's Bank of China subsidiaries, form a finance gateway firm. SWIFT, along with the Clearing Center and the Digital Currency Research Institute of the People's Bank of China, together formed a financial gateway company, public records show. The new entity, called Finance Gateway Information Service. Sorry.
What is that?
I think I had some pop up.
Get the latest news.
Get the latest news. They always pop it up when you're in the middle of reading something. New entity, blah, 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 blah. In Beijing on January 16th with 10 million euros, 12 million as an incorporation capital. The Global Interbank Settlement Organization contributed 55% of the capital via Hong Kong subsidiary.
So what is the objective here? What is this all going on here? Meanwhile, cross-border interbank payments and settlement, and just a lot of verbiage.
That's exactly it. There's a lot of verbiage right here. So if you
look, what is SWIFT and China doing? That's what I want to know.
They formed so their subsidiaries really have a finance gateway. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to create payments in and out of China. So SWIFT, on the other hand,
SWIFT. This is actually, I think, the first, because that statement right there is SWIFT establishing a wholly foreign-owned enterprise in China in an effort to be more actively supporting the internationalization of the Chinese yuan. I think that's a major step forward. I think we also saw PayPal being the first wholly owned, foreign-owned enterprise in China. It's very rare that you see that. It's also very rare that you have a company in China, once they reach a certain size, that the government doesn't have a board on the seat. But so I think PayPal being the first, and now Swift being the second, or at least in the very few. Man, what do you think the ramification of that is? What's going on?
What's odd about it, the whole idea of Swift getting involved and throwing down with China, right? Are they in a way giving up their game, really, saying that the only way they can potentially survive or at least move forward is by going with one of the countries responsible for really moving their economy digital? And are they going to participate? They're getting in bed with, right? So I kind of wonder if that's more telling. Is there other stuff going on behind the scenes? Because Swift has to know that they've missed certain deadlines, of what they're supposed to be rolling out. So I don't know. It is telling in a way. I don't know. There's a lot of, again, you put out this type of stuff, you put out a bunch of press releases, and what's the drop dead perspective? I mean, it's like, okay, great. So exactly, Jeff, what is the end game here? What are they really trying to accomplish? What is up?
I think Swift is starting to see some changes in the economic, influence of China, global influence, I should say, and that's the migration. China sees it. So if Swift is opening up a local division in China in partnership, with China, then we're definitely seeing that migration. So Swift might be playing the odds here, and looking for China's influence with the yuan. Now it's only a couple of years ago that China was manipulating their currency. We know that the yuan wasn't super stable, and there's a whole other load of issues going on. A year ago, China was definitely not in the economic position that they're in today, influential. And it just seems like since last March till today, we've seen major changes coming out of China, including the digital yuan, including the focus on central bank digital currencies, including the rollout of some major projects. NEO being one of them, which is an electric car to compete with Tesla. And there's a lot of other things that are coming out of China similar to that. And now this, to see Swift going over there, they're definitely playing the odds.
Right. Look at this question by Seth. Why is China supporting the old banking system and IBM who backs Stellar Lumens? Stellar Lumens, I should say. Lucky that IBM also have Bitcoin patents along with Goldman Sachs. Looks obviously to me like the old guard is fighting back. And you know what? How funny did you say that, Seth? I wanted to cue this up because Goldman Sachs, here they are right here. They put out this tweet here that with long-term volatility of 80%, Bitcoin is no digital gold, said Sherman Mosvar Rahmani, Goldman Sachs CIO for wealth management. Just because everyone piles into idea doesn't make it a store of value. So it's interesting you bring that up, Seth, because their whole thing is Bitcoin is too volatile to be a store of value. Now this is Goldman Sachs going in, but if you remember, J.P. Morgan, they were all Jamie Dimon was saying, oh my gosh, and my daughter bought Bitcoin, I want to disown her, and I don't know. Meanwhile, he's probably filling his bags behind the scene. Then all of a sudden, we have the J.P. Morgan coin, and then the JPM coin, and then, oh no, we're going to sell it, and blah, blah, blah. So it's, to me, she's basically going on to say that it's a long-term volatility. Okay, yes, you're correct, but it's outperformed the S&P 500. It's outperformed what's the other one? Not the NASDAQ. What's the other one?
Which one? Nice.
Well, it's outperformed two of the big
S&P 500.
The S&P 500. There's the other one, but it's outperformed them. Bitcoin. So yeah, you have 80% volatility, but your crashes are hard, but your rebounds are even better. So they've written Bitcoin off at least 360, 70, 80, 100, 400 times. but it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back in a bigger way. And you start seeing companies into it. So these kind of statements, what Seth's making the point here is like, you have the old guard, and he's making a great point, because the old guard is your Goldman Sachs, your big investment bankers who aren't really prepared. Now, the funny thing is, I've also heard that Goldman Sachs is looking to do custody. I've heard that, potentially JP Morgan is looking to get into custody, right? So we keep reading all these reports. So it's almost criminal that they publicize Bitcoin bad, and in the background they're working stuff. It's almost like they want to do some sort of manipulation just by coming out and making an assessment.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. There's definitely all that good stuff. So here, just as a kind of a segue out of this, government. Government's always a good segue, because there's good news and bad news coming out of government. I find it interesting that we have this major case that's being kind of conjured up right now against the retail investors, against the Reddit forum, potentially investigating GameStop, going after Robinhood, and yet somewhat maybe coddling the hedge funds. And I find, so there's a couple things going on. One, Cynthia Lummis, this is outside of that. We'll get into all that stuff in a minute. But Cynthia Lummis was assigned to the Senate Banking Committee, and she plans to launch the Financial Innovation Caucus. And now she is a senator, I believe, out of Wyoming.
Yep, out of Wyoming, and some of the best in the U.S. anyway. They're leading the way. Wyoming is leading the way. And something else that I didn't know, I listened to a podcast she was on with my boy Pomp, Anthony Pompliano. One of the things she said is they actually have a special court too that handles just these type of cases. So she said it's more akin to what you would find in Delaware corporations, where you have all the big companies like the Amazons of the world and go register in Delaware because of how friendly it is to business and how the court system's set up. So they want to kind of create that same infrastructure in Wyoming, and it's called a parsery. I forget what they call it. It's an actual court. So they're just looking so forward ahead. All the U.S. has to do is look at what Wyoming's doing and start adopting some of that, because I think that's really, phenomenal. There's just no doubt. I mean, it's just it's the way to go. And I got to tell you, it's really impressive for somebody, who is, let's say, she's not your 30 something. She kept making claims like, look, you don't want to work your whole life in your 20s and 30s, get to be my age. I don't know how old she is. It's not really the point. She says you don't want to do that, because every single day the dollar loses value. Every single day. And so 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years when you get to retirement, all the stuff you've worked for. And so she talked about Bitcoin and how it really was. She was the treasurer. This is how she got really involved in more of the money side. And it was her son-in-law that introduced her to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And one of the things she said was that it was amazing that when she was doing the treasury stuff, she was looking for a place that wouldn't have this negative effect, where if they had a stash of money, where were they going to put it? And that's where she really got the real use case for Bitcoin, that if you left it there for a period of time, you were going to end up with more value than what you put in. And as the treasurer, as somebody who was very sharp and keen and looking somebody who was fiscally responsible, then she ended up serving the legislature, and then she ended up becoming a senator. And I like what she's doing. And the other thing I'm happy is we've launched a lot of names of men in Congress, and finally we have a woman who is just so far ahead, who gets it on such a level. Yep. And Jeff, one of the things we've looked at, I remember when we first started doing this show, when we would look at our stats, what men and women, it always says women 0%. But that's all changed. And we always used to get mad. We're like, we know some women, Joe. We know it's not true. But there wasn't enough sample. And so now I think we're at like 7 or 8%.
We are, yeah. No, it's great to see, because as we know, economics and finance affects all of us equally. And I do think it's important, to see the engagement it's important to see the engagement, across the spectrum, but especially coming out of Congress like this, and a Congresswoman, like you said. We've seen a lot of positive news that came out of like Congressman Tom Emmer, or Congressman Warren Davidson, or Darren Soto, or a whole host of them. And then we see some negative news that come out of people, others. But one of the things that was interesting, because you're talking about the Goldman Sachs, and they don't think it's gonna, Bitcoin's gonna amount to anything, et cetera. And here's, Cynthia Lummis. She's touting Bitcoin as a better store of value for consumers, and especially as a hedge against the dollar. As she was, talking about, on that interview, and she does hold Bitcoin, and so those are the types of things that we have to see. We have to see government representatives, especially in Senate and Congress, that they themselves are investing into the future, and the future is in cryptocurrency and digital asset, and it's important that they're expanding their knowledge. But one of the things that she's doing that's different, instead of ganging up and trying to attack or appease the old guard, she's basically saying, hey, you know what, this is something that's critical, and actually part of this financial innovation caucus, to educate the rest of the congressional reps. And as you remember, the other night we played a video that we got a bunch of people from the community together, make a video that we put together specifically for Congressman Warren Davidson's office, in hopes that they would be able to, bring that to some of the other congressional representatives and staff, and say, hey, here's some voices from the community, to show you, the importance and significance of the digital asset space.
Yeah, and teaching people in Congress, and going about it that way, to educate, to learn. You're right, Jeff. You're not attacking them. You're not like, you need to get on board with this, and you just don't know. It's a really good way. It's a fresh perspective on how to approach it, by her setting up this new committee and trying to educate. And they said that she's the first senator that they know of that actually owns Bitcoin, because she's been public about it. So as far as we know, she is. We also know that there's probably some other senators that own, but she's been out, as far as, vocal about it, and she's leading the way. She's doing it in a non-destructive way. One of the things she said was, this isn't about this party or that party. This is a truly American thing. This is for innovation. This is for putting us in, the next step to make this country great, to make this whole ecosystem great. And I love her thinking. And when you hear somebody talk like that, that's a winning conversation. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle she's on. What matters is the message is there, and it's all about teaching and learning.
That's right. That's great. And here's, home-based income. I think she brought up, a couple, good points here, but here it says, the people who are closest to me cut me off when I talk about the new monetary system. It bothers me. And it's interesting, because most people don't get it. A lot of people in general, even if you want to talk to them about the existing monetary system, they're going to shut down. Try to have a conversation with somebody, about economics, or even just investing in stock. And most people, they just shut down, because they don't want to get involved in it. And maybe, they think it's too complex, or whatever it might be. And that's just been my experience as well. Now, if you want to try to talk to them about digital asset, say, hey, by the way, this existing monetary system that we're all working with fiat currency and, cash and all this, is actually going to change. And we're moving towards a digital economy. People, it just, boggles people's minds. And I think we're not at a point yet where everybody, most people want to. I think we're starting to see now, more than ever before, we're seeing more and more people come into this space, but it's going to be in just little bits. I don't know. What do you think, Chip?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that, because I kind of wanted to bring a different approach to that. So home base, I think that's great. You're bringing that up. It's sometimes the people closest to us, I'll suggest another way to look at that, and it's positive. That the people that are closest to you have what's called a listening. They have a certain way and a frame up the way they see you. You know, they know you so well, and you're kind of like this. But sometimes that same person who's so close to you, could be a spouse, could be your best friend, could be a family member, son, daughter, mom, dad. Here's the thing. What's different is sometimes they will catch you doing something. In other words, you might take a phone call and start talking about something. They're like, wow, the way you handled that call. They'll see you in a different way because the way they see you, the way my wife sees me is who I am when I'm home. And when I see her, but I see her jump on a call or start doing some stuff, and I'm like, wow, it's very impressive, but I'm not usually accustomed to that. So there is a listening that people put you on, but sometimes you got to remember too, you don't want to be off-putting either. You don't want to be like, because it's something you're really passionate about. Other people are like, they roll the eyes, are like, oh no, not this again. There's other ways, like Jeff said, they're like, oh please, like, is the timing bad where I roll into this? Because look, Jeff and I have been there. We can be much the same way where you do it, but you have to read your audience. You got to know what they're looking for. And like I was sharing, my dad finally went in and bought Bitcoin, but the conversation, and XRP and some other stuff, the conversation starts bubbling up. But it's not just you. You're maybe suggesting it, but then they get reinforcement. They go watch a TV show, a news program, and they were talking about something, and then they connect it to you because, oh yeah, you were taking you. Is this what you're always talking about? Yeah, kind of. So it doesn't matter how it comes around. Look, it circles around and it comes back, but don't take offense to it. Just sometimes you got to drop it. You got to move on. You say, like, look, I just want to talk about it. Sometimes I get a little too passionate about it because it's something I really enjoy. Otherwise, you're looking to pick a fight, and that's not the object of why you're sharing stuff. So just something to consider.
Yeah, let's go into. We got more stuff on the government thing, but let's get into this. Because we talked about it a little bit earlier. We're kind of trading back and forth our opinion on the timing of Ripple announcing their SOC2. And so I thought, Fraser brought this up and he wanted to make sure that he didn't miss it as we're going through it. So I thought, hey, let's bring it up now because we might not. Sure we will, but it's one of the things we want to talk to. I don't want to miss it. So let's bring up some information on that because, Chip, you had shared it with me and I was reading through it. You said that they just now announced that they were SOC2 certified. And now
Yes.
They launched a service called RippleNet Cloud that launched June of 2020. And the cloud, the RippleNet Cloud is bringing everything, into, moving away from legacy platforms up into the cloud for the financial institutions and bringing the RippleNet up into the cloud. So what's the significance of SOC2? You've worked through it.
Yeah, it's SOC 2.
Yeah.
It's SOC 2 type 2. So SOC, that's how we read it in the industry. It's SOC 2 testing. Now, I got to be honest with you. Jeff and I had two different opinions of this one, which doesn't happen very often. We did, and I think it's good to talk about it. I wanted to pull this up here, but this is the basically what it is. It's a security set by a CPA organization. Now, I've been through this many times with my organization. I have fielded, I have vetted the CPA firms that do this testing. I've been part of finding some issues that would delay the potential test, the penetration test that happened, because you're testing security out. And what kind of shocked me about this whole thing, and they talk about McKinsey here too. So McKinsey is one of these organizations that I've worked with in the past, that they identified consumer and digital adoption had matured in 5 years, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about the RippleNet Cloud. Now, RippleNet Cloud was introduced at Swell in 2019. So it was introduced right around October, November-ish of 2019. It didn't actually launch. And what did you say, Jeff? June of
2020. June of
2020. Now, here's the weird thing for me. I've gone through the SOC 2 testing for what I do. It's a requirement that you have to do. You don't just get, okay, we're tested. No, because there's always new code and stuff. Basically, it's a security protocol, and it is an industry standard. So almost every application in fintech is going to be SOC 2 compliant. Now, what shocked me was if I just learned that it took them 9 months to get SOC 2 compliant, I personally, I'm not blowing the horn on that. Now I am on the website, but I'm not introducing it. I'm not putting out a tweet thread on it. That's just me. You would assume something in the banking sector would be SOC 2. It's just like a gimme. When I found out, wait a minute, he just got SOC 2. Now the flip side of that is the fact they were signing up a ton of banks for the cloud. So it used to be when they did these installs, it was hardware. You go in, you put hardware somewhere in a data center. It's physical computer hardware where they would install it. Now cloud, the reason, and again, I was shocked by how long it took 2019 to roll out cloud. Cloud is basically it's what fuels the entire internet. What is cloud really? It's a bunch of hardware and servers other places, but you don't have to physically have them in your data center. You don't physically have to have them. It's the same thing. They go like, it's in the cloud. Well, guess what? It's still hardware and machine. AWS, which is responsible for most of Amazon's revenue, all of our stuff runs on AWS, and so the AWS stuff, it's just server farms. But guess what? You don't have to sit there and worry about the hardware, tend to the hardware. And if drives die, they swap them out. In other words, there's massive redundancy going on there. And it's easy because now you connect to the clouds. You're connecting via internet with a security type of a protocol. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, Jeff. So they went through and they got this SOC 2, and I saw a lot of people tweeting about it. Look, it's a great thing. I mean, you should be SOC 2 compliant. But again, it's kind of like saying I'm trying to think of like an analogy, but if you're running in fintech space and you're not SOC 2 compliant, that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, but the premise of that though is a little misleading because first SOC 2 stands for System and Organization Controls 2. It's a certification. I think but it's important because the report is carried out by an independent CPA that has to certify the process for security and privacy and other things like that. But the missing element there is, and the open-ended question that I brought up before is what is the timeline of getting SOC 2 certified? Can you get SOC 2 certified before you go live, or do you need to wait until you're live and registering customers where you're already compliant with SOC 2, but you haven't been certified for SOC 2? And I think those are different things to consider, because you can be certified or you can be compliant, you just haven't received the certification of excellence. And is SOC 2 critical to actually running your business, or is it just a certification of excellence that's recognized in the industry? Because if that's all it is, then you prove to your banking customers that, hey, this is our security and privacy. We're working towards getting and achieving our SOC 2 compliance. It takes 6, 7, 8 months to get it. We're working on it. We just went live in June.
You also have sandbox testing. I'm not. I'll tell you what's happened. My experience.
Well, you're not answering the question though. Can you get? I
don't know.
compliance before you go live though? That's the question.
Don't know. I didn't roll out a new product where I needed SOC 2 compliance.
No, I know, but that's the open question.
The open question is it's never taken me 2 or 3 months. And the reason it's taken longer, 3 months, is because there are bugs in the system. You're not going to get a certification because there's security loopholes and gaps.
But it's taken 6 or 7 months.
It's very questionable, just given the experience that I have and knowing, going through the SOC 2 testing and doing this. I don't know why it took them so long. And you know what? I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. Look, you have to be SOC 2 compliant. You need the certification because you always want an independent, agency, a CPA that's going to certify you, and they're going to do penetration testing. They're going to they're kind of identifying any of the issues, right? So there are issues, and look, there's always going to be. There's always code leak, something. People find a way in, and then you have to go do that. Then you have to go back through it. So what I'm guessing is it's a lot more stringent if you're in the banking sector, and it's the most amazing part.
They're not really in the banking sector. They're supporting banks moving of money.
Right, but the most amazing part of this is that not being SOC 2 compliant, not having the certification, signing people up. It's just it's a nice thing to have.
40 customers signed up.
Yeah, but it's kind of like if you have a it doesn't really matter whether they do or not. It's like you can get a certification to do. You can be certified and Google certified, blah blah blah, whatever it is. An IBM certified. Certification carries some weight, but in this sector, it's almost a gimme. Stripe's not coming out tomorrow and going, hey, guys, here we're SOC 2 compliant. It's just,
yeah, but this is a big deal also. If they're moving to this cloud, RippleNet cloud, they're taking everybody off of the legacy platform that RippleNet ran on before, and they're starting to migrate everybody over to this cloud. And so that's really the implementation now of getting people onto RippleNet is going to be that much more seamless, that much, quicker.
I mean, again, the adoption to the cloud was a little bit slow. Hey, it doesn't matter. It happened. I remember when they introduced it, I thought this is fantastic because the install takes about 2 weeks, versus, a lot longer. And I'm guessing that it's more economical too. I'm not privy to the price, neither are you, Jeff. We don't know what it costs. But I have to feel like the cloud, the whole infrastructure of the cloud is got to be a lot. I mean, the adoption, it's a lot easier to install. You got to put some things in there. So,
yeah. There you go.
He's great. It is good to see a little bit of tension. I'm not buying it personally. Look, talking to somebody that's done this. You're talking to somebody that's been through it. You're talking to somebody that's been vetting this. So from my experience, and just making great points too, I just don't. I'm questioning why it took so long to get the SOC 2. And you can also start some initial pen testing. You can start doing some stuff early on, in sort of a sandbox environment or whatever, But the thing is, they introduced it last November. It probably might have been going through the rounds. I just have a feeling.
But they said they just launched it in June, though. It went live in June.
It doesn't take you 9 months to get SOC 2 certified. I'm just saying there must have been a lot of gaps, holes. There must have been some issues. They might have rushed it.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
Either way, it's good to have it. It's important to have it at this point.
It's good to have it, but
more bragging rights. Well, hey, and that's how we do it. Kicked them off. Kicked them right off.
You know what happened?
That's how we take care of dissension. You're out of here.
No,
I've kicked you off the channel.
If you guys have ever seen the new MacBook Pro, it's got a trackpad on it like this big, and all I have to do is swipe the thing, and boom, knocked out of the studio. Anyway, I wanted to get some important news right here. Here's something important that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the $72 million crypto fund backed by Paul Tudor Jones and one of my favorite rappers, LL Cool J. And Jeff, do you know what LL Cool J stands for? Does anybody know in the chat? Well, you gotta be an OG like me to know, but it stands for the Ladies Love Cool James.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
There you are, man. And I guess I don't have room for a lot of really important stuff. And there he is. So 2 of the big hits you guys might remember is going back to Cali, of course, and just had he had a whole string of stuff. And he always had attitude too. And so this is great. They basically created this new ventures capital to be able to invest in other VC projects. So for example, they have this guy, co-founders are Hutchin's son, James Hutchin, former Digital Currency Group investor, Travis Shear, quietly making VC investments in crypto and blockchain projects. So they've kind of been under the radar, dropping some money, not like really putting out giant press releases saying, hey, SOC 2 compliant over here, 11 months. Just saying.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, just going back to that point. But some people might see this story, think Glenn Hutchin's jumping on the bandwagon. The truth is, Glenn was one of the earliest established leaders from the finance community. And LL Cool J, I love the fact that all these rappers are getting smart, investing their money. There's a bunch of them run, venture capital funds, invested their money very, very wisely, invested early days, ground floor opportunities. So it's very cool to see that this stuff is taking place.
It's awesome.
What do you think about that? I love it, man. I love any new funds that people want to pump some money into.
Yeah, anything cool like that. So, hey, I want to segue into a couple things here. One, Tom Emmer, he's the co-chair of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus, which is a bipartisan group of lawmakers studying blockchain tech in conjunction with industry. One of the things that he's focused on is trying to find the right path forward and looking at regulatory clarity, trying to understand that in order for this space to get to where it's going, and he looks at it as revolutionary, and it has the potential of being revolutionary. However, there's still some, foot dragging here. But one of the things that was brought up in this article with about Tom Emmer also focuses on the fact that there's a little bit of misunderstanding when it comes to how to tax those that are mining crypto. I think this would also fall into airdrops. It also falls into if you're exchanging digital asset one for the other, and you have realized gains. There's all these different things that are going on.
Yeah, this whole tax thing is kind of it's a missing for me. By the way, I want to put that up there because
it's hilarious.
Simon wants to know if my head is the same size in real life. Jeff, you see me in real life. The thing is, Jeff sits about 4 miles away from his camera, and
I do.
And the way my setup is, I could do this. I could sit back here in the room. I could be back there. I should probably sit back at the desk.
You could be lounging like all of us.
By the way, there in one of our team Zoom calls, there's always someone on there inevitably doesn't have their Zoom camera on, or they're like in the corner somewhere, or you just see their head, just like that. You're like, you there? Yeah, I'm here. Everything okay? So it's just a matter of the setup, man. I like to sit close to the camera. I like to be on my computer because my camera's right here. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up another camera so you guys can see my setup.
Go ahead and just sit way in the back.
I'll do a Sam I am. No, I don't like sitting that far away. Then I got to be close to my microphone too, so my mic's here.
That's true. That is true.
So my mic's sitting on my desk and my stuff, but I can actually put myself further back. But I like my head is big. It's gigantic.
All right. So Apex is talking about here that Tom Emmer is one of the only Minnesota congressmen actually pushing for a crypto reg. I think he's one of the only congressmen actually pushing for crypto reg. He's there with another handful. But hey, one of the things that came up, and this, there was others talking about this in the space, but a former SEC official said there's a good chance that the SEC is going to lose its case against Ripple. There was actually an article that came up on the Daily Huddle. And I think it's something that we had talked about before, only because he is currently, he's the former SEC commission, but he's also an executive over at, what is this? Where does he work now? Davis Polk. He's a partner at the law firm Davis Polk. And so, it's just interesting, the way, people are reflecting on, how this could potentially transact. But one of the things that he brought up here is that he just says that the judge reviewing the lawsuit is likely to be influenced by the fact that the case doesn't seem to have been involving any imminent investor harm. And that could be part of it, but I think there's just so much more. And I believe that the entire case has really been, laid out, pretty succinctly when we had Deaton on here talking about, the fact that, it looks like we lost Chip again. Not sure where he went. But, when we had Deaton on, talking about the fact that it just doesn't hit the merits of the Howey test. And there's all these other, variables of where this case really from the SEC perspective, they're overreaching. They're a little bit overzealous in terms of how they're trying to try the case, and it's a little bit out of step. So it's going to be interesting once we get to the point where we're actually starting to see some discussion here. We saw Ripple's response, and I thought that was really appropriate, and they're kind of analyzing kind of where they've always been right from the beginning. Now, as we come up and we creep, ever so, quickly towards February 22nd, when we're going to see the pretrial hearing, that's where, the question is whether or not there's going to be some form of a settlement, or, how long a settlement could potentially even take. Does it happen quickly? Does it take 6 months? Does it take a year? And move on. But the one thing that has been going on, with all of this, I think that this is important, and obviously we have to monitor and watch, as this progresses, because the significance of this case against Ripple, as we've expressed so many times before on the show, is that it has a lot of ramification to the rest of the space. So it's not just the SEC v. Ripple, at the end of the day, as they single out XRP and Ripple potentially involved in selling an unregistered security, could then be expanded out, and the SEC, could even go against what their I don't want to say they're ruling, but at least how they've labeled or created an understanding of Ethereum, where they, stated that Ethereum may have been an unregistered security at some point, but is no longer. And therefore, really, when we look at all those different elements, why would XRP then, fit the same narrative as an unregistered security? It doesn't make sense. But here, as we talked about Cynthia Lummis. It wasn't Lumens, it's Lummis, assigned to the Senate Banking Committee. There's other things that are going on at the exact same moment. We talked about with Tom Emmer, all these different, positive signs that are moving forward and moving into this space. But then at the same time, we're also seeing a little bit of strain with, I don't want to call it the old guard, but you're starting to see some of the movement of the old guard, especially in the finance space, with the big hedge funds, the big financial institutions shorting in the market. And you're starting to see a little bit of a pushback from retail. And I always look at cryptocurrency as the pushback from the retail space to giving the people an opportunity here. But what we're also seeing now is that same pushback resonating in the stock market with what we saw with Reddit. And yet here you have, the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. Chip, I got to get your opinion on this. I know we're coming up here close to an hour, but I got to get your opinion on this one. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is going to call a regulator meeting on GameStop volatility. Now, in order for her to do that, she's seeking an ethics waiver. So she's going to the lawyers asking for an ethics waiver. Why does she need an ethics waiver? Because she received $700,000 in speaking fees from Citadel, which is a hedge fund, which happens to also be one of the backers of Robinhood and involved with Robinhood. Now, in order for her to bring this, what in the world is an ethics waiver? How do you get a waiver on ethics? To me, that's an ethics violation if you proceed and you don't remove yourself from this, because you just got $700,000 from one of the key players. There is no ethics waiver. It doesn't exist. Makes no sense. What is your thought? You're muted.
You're spot on. That's it. No.
That's it.
So here's the thing. If you're by even requesting an ethics waiver tells me there's something ethically wrong. Jeff, I want to get a get out of jail free card. Did you do something? Nope. Yeah, it's called an ethics waiver, which means you ethically are doing something that is not right. So I'll just ask for a waiver. It's like anytime politicians ask for waivers, it's like a giant red flag in so many ways. I mean, it's a huge type of a thing. And so this whole thing, what she ought to do is step away. She has to do something, man. She cannot sit there and pretend like it didn't happen. It happened. And she's going to pretend like, well, I'm going to get an ethics waiver, Jeff, and everything's just going to turn out to be okay. Not going to be a problem. It's a huge problem. And I just don't understand. This is what happens with government. This is what happens when people pretend everything's okay. Like, I guess it's okay. Now, if you show up and have anything to say, God bless you if you can get $800,000. Now, it was around 3 speeches. But these people, I'm sorry, this old bag shows up at a conference and she's going to speak and someone's going to pay her $800,000. I've seen some of the most I've seen Gary Vee speak a couple times. He didn't get $800,000. Gary Vee is probably one of the most impressive. I've seen a lot of really high-profile people speak. They didn't get. She shows up. This is a way to fill pockets, right? This is a way to pretend that, well, I guess you're that interesting. No. What it is that she's a, that's what they do. They sell books that nobody reads, and then they get these $60 million advances. And then the other thing that they do is they go on speaking tours that nobody cares about or wants to hear, right? I did hit the mute time, thank gosh, right? I actually tweeted out all of the speaking fees she's received, and it is frightening, man. I mean, it's not like she's went and spoke 3 or 4 times. No, she spoke a bunch of times. I'm trying to think of where this is. When did this come up? I wish there's ways I could find my stuff. But anyway,
it just doesn't make any sense, man. I mean, it's like the whole idea of a waiver. Hey, I want some waivers. Can I get a couple of those? Then you run around and if something happens, you just whip that. Hey, I got a waiver for that. I want a speeding ticket waiver. Just maybe, because I got this really fast car that sits in the garage that everybody knows about. I'm going to get a speeding ticket waiver. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. It's so ridiculous. Even going, man, I know we're on the hour here, but this is so crazy, to bring this stuff up. So then you have even Maxine Waters, she wants Keith Gill, one of the key guys over there at the Reddit Wall Street Bet. She wants Keith Gill. They want to bring all these people in front of Congress. They want Robinhood. They want Keith Gill. They want GameStop. And then as a second thought, she's like, oh, yeah, maybe we also want some of the hedge funds, some of them. And the hedge funds might even be, she said that I'm looking at Citadel and Melvin Capital. She said, I want a couple of the hedge funds here at this hearing. I'm looking at Citadel and Melvin Capital. I mean, come on. She was very specific. Reddit, Robinhood, GameStop. And then maybe the other two, maybe the other two culprits that were shorting at 140%. And then people wonder why you have this whole segment of society now that are moving in the direction of cryptocurrency at a rapid pace, like Michael Saylor putting, $1 billion into Bitcoin. And we're seeing more and more movement into the digital asset space. And we're seeing more movement of retail going on to Reddit to say, hey, we want to, save the retail investor. Man, crazy stuff.
It's pretty simple, Jeff. The game is rigged. It's not designed for you to win. It's designed for the big elites to win, for the big money to win, for everybody, because you can always see when they rush in to save them. Let me rush in to save them. Look what these paupers did. They actually went against the big large institution. Well, what's happening is people are waking up. People are tired of it. Look at what's happening. What I like about it is it's happening globally. Globally, people are said, hey, I'm done. I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm not putting up with that anymore. I'm out. There's an awakening going on. It's refreshing to see, and keep it coming, because that decentralization equals freedom, and cryptocurrency is the way. It's the blockchain of decentralization. It's cryptocurrency. There you go. It's freedom. And we are heading, as a global population and as the early adopters of crypto, we are the ones paving the way. So yeah, if they shut you down in the conversation about talking about crypto, it's only temporary. It'll come up again. Right. It always does. They don't want us peasants to compete against it. That's absolutely right. But you know what? The peasants are mad. Peasants aren't happy. It was funny when JP Thiriot said the other day what he said. It's the young barbarians at the old barbarians' gate. And the young barbarians are tougher, man, and they don't back down very easily. So, be careful how you do that, right? There you go.
I can tell you one thing, though, man. XRP. Not 100%
sure.
But I think
it's magic. Right on. And given that, speaking of magic, it is time for Jeff and I to disappear. And we're going to do that after we thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for, helping us, workshop this show and your comments and everything. It's fluid. Yeah, we have a bunch of set things. We probably have 15 things we didn't get to, but that's okay. That's how we do it. Jeff, you want to say anything?
Also, I just want to say I appreciate everyone being here with us. You guys are awesome. You guys are what makes on the chain, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys back on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But don't forget, because we also stream on Saturday morning and do a show right here at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be awesome to see you guys back on bright and early with a cup of espresso, and then onwards to the week for Sunday with the roundtable. And also, Chip, the podcast.
Podcast is key. Subscribe.
All that stuff is down below. Go into the description. You can see links to the podcast. You can see a link to the other channel. Make sure you check all that out, and we'll see you guys back on Saturday and Sunday.
See you on the next one.
We're
Chip
out.
And Jeff.
Out.
Oh.
Nope, that didn't work.
Hang on. Ready?
Yeah, let's go. Hit it.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.